Okay, let's talk about something totally different for a watch review channel. Let's talk about a $1.5 million pocket watch. Pocket watches. Do you own a pocket watch? I don't. I definitely don't own one worth $1.5 million, but somebody does, and his name is Patrick Gruen. Gruen, a German entrepreneur who just bought a 14 karat gold Waltham pocket watch. Now, okay, watch the story. Well, do you know what the story is? Have you heard it? Have you read the news? It's probably not in the watch channels, it's just in the regular news. What happened this past Saturday is that an auction was held of Titanic memorabilia. And one of the objects that were auctioned, one that was auctioned, get my grammar correct there, was the Waltham pocket watch, the solid gold, 14 karat solid gold Waltham pocket watch that John Jacob Astor IV, the richest person on the Titanic, it is the watch that he owned and had on him when he drowned when the Titanic sank. Now, the story, if you care to know, and please don't pass over this, or you can pass over this, just don't miss the end of this video, okay? But this watch was purchased by Mr. Astor back in 1907, and he carried it on him all the time. It was his favorite watch. He married in 1914, or not, sorry, 1914, in 1911, 1912, I'm not sure. He married a girl named Madeline, who was only 18 years old. And because of this, he had an extended honeymoon with her in Europe, and this was to let the news calm down a little bit, so when he came back it wouldn't be as much of a scandal as it was at that time. And so they took this longer honeymoon in Europe, and then to come back to America, they got tickets on the Titanic, obviously. And then in April 14th of 1912 was when the Titanic struck the iceberg, as we all know, and sank. Well, Mr. Astor, he went down with the ship because his wife, Madeline, was allowed to get on a lifeboat, and when he tried, he was turned away because it was strictly women and children only, and when the women and children are safe, then the men can get on. And so he stepped back, and the story goes, threw her his gloves, and then lit up a cigarette and walked away, either accepting his fate or waiting for something to happen. But about a week later, his body was found floating in the Atlantic, and on him was several things: some gold and diamond cufflinks, gold ring. I think it was about 225 British pounds and 2,440 US dollars, which was a heck of a lot of money back then. But, you know, according to today's dollar standards, he was a multi-billionaire. He was worth over, I think, $84 million in 1912. One of the richest men in the world. And so this watch went up for auction, and it went for £1,175, or approximately $1,500,000. And when I saw this story, it really got my attention, namely because I wanted to see a watch that literally floated with this super rich, wealthy man's body in the Atlantic for a week and is still good to go. It went through a restoration at some point, but still, it's still all there. It works even to this day. And I wanted to see this watch up close, or the best I could with photos. And so I've included photos, and I give credit to whoever took the photos. I don't know who took them. I just pulled them from the internet because they're the same pictures that were everywhere. But I wanted to see this watch, and it is a beautiful watch. So let's look at it. On the front of the watch, you have the initials JJA for John Jacob Astor. And that opens when you push a little. Well, there's different ways to do it. I don't know how this one does, but usually you push down on the crown and it opens up the front. Now, if you look closely at one of the pictures, there's another little lever at the bottom, and I believe that's the one that opens up the back of the case so that you can get to the movement. The movement is a 19 jewel movement that's adjustable. It's a beautiful movement. I don't know how accurate it was. I don't know nothing about it other than the fact that what you see in the picture. And so on the front, though, the dial you have is a white enamel dial with black numerals and blued. I'm assuming they were heat treated, heat blued hands. You have a small second dial. And on the outside of the minute track, I find something that is really interesting, and that is that the minutes are offset from the actual indices. The numbers are offset. Do you see what I'm saying there? Other than that, this watch is not a Richard Mille. It's not some fantastically decorated kind of watch to admire. It's a simple watch just in gold, like many other pocket watches would have been at that time. So what makes this one so special that it would go for so much? Well, I believe obviously it's because of who owned it and how they died and how this watch came to be, in the public eye. And that got me really to thinking, because why is it exactly that this story is the way it is? I mean, because if it were anyone else with this same kind of watch that died on the Titanic, would it go for so much? I don't think it would have. It was who had it, the manner in which they died, and what it was, all combined into the story to make, the provenance here is what makes this watch so valuable. But I still just pondered it. I still thought about it. And I want you to let your mind, think about this a little bit too. Why is it such a big deal? It's just a watch. He was just a man. But I think there's more to it than that, don't you? There's several. I know there's 3 good lessons we can learn from the Titanic. 1, never get on a ship that's unsinkable. That's just not a good thing. 2, I think a lesson we can learn is saying that women and children first is something that's never going to happen again, because that just wouldn't work. And 3, our watches will outlive us, more than likely. This watch that floated in the Atlantic for a week is still good to go. Now, it was restored. I don't know what had to be done to it to restore it, but it was working, you see. That says a lot about the watch, but, it says a lot that we should think about, because every watch that you own, right now I'm wearing a Bertucci. I'm going to do a review on this soon. But, very simple watch. But because it is simple, because it is, but it's well made for what it is. Quite frankly, as long as it's got a battery, it's going to probably outlive me, maybe. But some of my mechanical watches, though, definitely are going to be around long after I'm gone. And when we look at this watch, we're looking at the very same dial that a living human being looked at to tell the time, to gauge, how long you had between appointments. The time is, burritos in the microwave, whatever. This is the same watch that man looked at, but he is no longer here, and the watch is. It was part of his story, but now it is part of history, and we can look at it and we can find a link to the past, something that we can understand, something that we can feel like we have a way to understand him a little bit more, maybe what he would have thought or seen, what it was like, a whole host of things, I guess. But does it remind us, does it cause us to think that every one of us are mortal? That all of our watches, no matter the worth, the value of them, or who we are, all of our watches are nothing but pieces of machinery that tell us every second that passes that we'll never get back. I wondered, when he was on that ship, you see the watch was found in his pocket. I wonder what was the moment, the last time that he actually looked at that watch, and what he thought about. How much time have I got left? Did he even look at it at all? Did time even matter to him at that moment? We'll never know. But there is a verse of scripture I want to give to you. I hope you don't mind. And if you do mind, well, it's my YouTube channel. Okay, so whatever. You don't have to watch. You don't have to listen. Nobody's forcing you. I'm just asking if you would. Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. In other words, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. What is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. I wonder, as a violin was playing, as people were praying, I wonder if Mr. Astor thought about his life, if his life passed before his eyes at any moment, if he pondered, what is all this money in my pocket? He had $2,440 US in his pocket, plus 440 pounds, as in British currency, on his person when he was found. What are you doing with that kind of money back then on a ship? I mean, are you going to gamble that away, or how much for drinks and dinner in first class? I mean, that's a lot of money to be carrying around cash back then, even today. Did he ever have the moment to think, my life has been so short? He was only 47 when he died. My life has been so short, and now it's going to be over. Was everything I've done worth it? And what will happen next? Is this it? And so, is it that when we look at this watch, when we look at things similar to this, it causes us, we have this fascination, like getting close to a flame. We don't want to touch it. We don't want to touch it because we know we'll get burned, but we still want to know something about it. We want to experience without actually experiencing it. It's like riding an amusement park ride. We don't actually want to go on the careening train through the mountains, but we like to have fun sort of imagining it. Do we imagine looking at this watch as it would have been in our last moment or two? Do we think about these things? Do you think about it when you ever look down to tell the time? Is it something that ever crosses your mind? Am I looking at my watch for the last time? This isn't what normal watch review channels talk about. I get it. But I'm me and I'm not them. And I want you to think about these things. I've probably lost everybody. Nobody's watching this right now except maybe one or two. But if you are, I consider that a divine appointment. And I would ask that you take a moment to consider what condition, where, what is your state going to be one day when your watches are in a museum, when your watches are in your possession of your great-grandchildren, or when your watches are in a pawn shop somewhere. What about then? I would encourage you to be ready for that. Because every one of us, whether on a Titanic, on a 747, or in a Honda, or in a bed in a hospital, all of us are going to die. And our watches will probably just keep on ticking and never miss a beat. Watches are replaceable, but time is not. And we don't know how much we have left. Make sure you have everything squared away today, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. If you want to know more about what I believe about what happens after this life, then message me and I'll share it with you privately or in the messages. Just let me know. You can email me at pastoracbaker@yahoo.com, or contact me by phone if you want to, 423-645-8884. If you'd like to, be best to text me first, because I probably wouldn't answer the phone because it'll be a number that I don't know. But if that's you, I'm open to talk. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to show you what I believe if you want to know. Because one day, this will all be over with and we'll have no more need of watches. And I'm looking forward to that. It's called eternity. And because I believe that I've found the answers to how that's going to be good. And I'd like to share it with you if you're interested. So until then, until our next video, I hope I haven't lost any subscribers. Maybe I have. After this video, I'll probably go down below 1,000. but, you know, hey, it's worth it to me. Until the next time, have a great day. Just think about the things that I've said, and love your family, spend time with your family, and make sure everything's right, all right? See ya.